Ahsoka, allow me to commend you on your efforts today. You've been quite a worthy opponent.
Can you not get me any more power?
I regret we haven't met face to face, and perhaps now we never shall. Still, I know you because I knew your master. I concluded your strategies would be similar. One wonders just how similar you might become. Perhaps this is where a Ronin such as you belongs. Today, victory is mine. Long live the Empire.
Oh, greetings once again, Bucketheads. Mavar Tigar. Welcome to our 220th scintillatingly Skype-based episode of MandoVision. Nargai Tom. And I am your host on this podcast. Thank you so much for checking out our small independent Star Wars show. We are so glad that you are here. Please find us on social media. We're at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. Email the show at mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. All right, everyone, we're back. It is the week after the conclusion of what we assume is Season 1 of Ahsoka. And we're going to be joining with our good friend Regan from the Come On Is So Good podcast to discuss everything Ahsoka-based and you know, I suspect there'll be a fair amount of speculating on things to come for the next season of Ahsoka. I suspect it's only a matter of time before a season 2 is officially announced. You know, we are not far removed from the writer strike being resolved, and there seems to be positive energy, positive momentum going forward on a resolution towards the actors' strike. And that would probably be when I imagine, like, once those things are sort of resolved, once those labor issues are resolved, I feel like it's only a matter of time before all these studios start announcing, you know, productions resuming, productions kicking off, continuations of series. All these things will start happening. You'll be able to go back to your favorite entertainment-based websites and actually get real news instead of them making a list of various things to occupy their time while they wait for the beat that they covered to return to I guess something resembling normality. But yeah, so we're gonna get into Ahsoka pretty big time this episode. We're gonna talk about everything from episode 1 through 8. We're gonna talk about everything that we liked, some of the nits we have to pick, and everything in between. You know, I'm gonna put on the record right now. I did really enjoy this series. Anytime we discussed it on the podcast and I had my nits to pick, it was because, well, you know, that's what we do on the podcast. You know, we want to be supportive, but, you know, we're here to have a conversation. You know, it's okay to not like certain aspects or like, oh, I wish they made a different choice there. It doesn't detract from your enjoyment if you don't let it. And that's the thing that I try to remind everybody that as we become more immersed in the Disney era of Star Wars, right? There's going to be missteps. They're going to make some choices that maybe we don't all agree with. But I think by and large, the Ahsoka series made a lot of really good choices. I have a lot of questions about some of them. And a lot of my concerns stem from the fact that, like, oh man, I just wish we had more information. I wish they were giving us more information here as the show sort of evolved. And we'll talk about all that with our good friend Regan. I'm sure he has his opinions. I have not picked his brain too much on his thoughts on the show, so as to have a more lively conversation with Regan as we get into the show. And yeah, so I don't know where he's going to be coming from, what his point of view is, how he's going to look at things. So this will all be a big surprise to me because I have intentionally avoided getting in too much into this with him. Very cursory conversations about the show as it was airing. But yeah, we'll get it all out right now. If anyone is noticing the different timbre of my voice, I am getting over an illness that was pretty intense, but we've rallied, and other than a little bit of a growliness to my vocals, we're doing A-okay, and the show will proceed as it has been intended to. All right, so I think with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and link up with our good friend Regan right after this little bump, because what else would we how else would we transition if we didn't have a nice bumper from the Grand Admiral himself? And I'm picking a very specific one, and you'll know it as a fan of the Ahsoka series from that final episode, because I suspect that much like Ahsoka Tano herself, there will be no negotiations with Regan from Come On It's So Good. So you know what time it is. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Rain hellfire upon them. There'll be no negotiating with the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker.
All right, joining us now via the power of Skype, my Buckethead brother, Regan from the Come On It's So Good podcast. How are you doing, sir? Great to see you again.
Greetings, programs. Let's see if I still remember how to do this show.
This show or your show?
Yeah, my show I remember.
I was going to say, your show you probably finally have down pat.
It's hit and miss sometimes. I make a mistake every show. Like it's my first.
Well, it's been a little while since we've had a chance to talk. Why don't you fill in Buckethead Nation on what's been going on the Come On It's So Good podcast recently?
Let's see. We just concluded a sports month where we watched great films such as Juggers, Salute of the Jugger, but it's also called
what?
With Rutger Hauer.
Oh, Rollerball?
No, we Rollerball will be out this week when this releases.
Oh,
we watched
Rutger
Starship
Hauer.
Troopers.
Okay.
So it's not Surviving the Game. I watched this movie a ton. I love it.
What?
It's Salute to the Jugger.
I really threw you off with this question. I'm a little.
You did. I tried to. I record a lot of shows.
Well, you got to make sure you don't spill the beans for the upcoming ones as well, because you guys are
well, that's we're about to do The Blood of Heroes. It's the movie I'm talking about with Rutger Hauer.
Yes,
from the 80s. It's great. It's a fantastic film. But Fortoberfest, our Hortoberfest, should be starting next week.
You also got the Running Man out recently too.
Yes, that was part of our sports. It's a game show, sports game show. Starship Troopers was in there because they play jump ball for like 35, 40 seconds in that movie.
You didn't want to do Harry Potter playing Quidditch or anything?
Not yet. I'm waiting to watch Harry Potter with you so you can finally join the Potterverse.
I'll probably have it one day. One day.
We gotta watch an Alan Rickman movie. It is October. You're breaking tradition already.
I am. I know. It's been a rough summer into fall for me. That's for sure.
I know. World Traveler. I know.
And Ahsoka keeping me busy.
Yeah, Ahsoka. We got Loki.
Oh gosh, that's.
Yeah, I know. When I hear talk about that.
Oh my goodness.
It exists though. We can't pretend it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, but again, Hansoverfest can fall when we want it to fall.
That's true.
We're in charge.
We're the captain now.
Well, let's get into it because we're here to talk about Ahsoka. It wrapped up last week, 8 episodes. Flew by, I think. I think it was 8 weeks pretty quick. Well, I guess 7 really was like the hour long, or the 2 episodes on the first day.
It was 2 the first.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it flew by. It went insanely fast. I loved the release schedule. I loved having it come out Tuesday evenings. You know, you watch them at your convenience, have a podcast the next day. Worked out great for me. How about you?
It did. There were a couple times when it was like 8:30, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? Ahsoka comes out today. I'm gonna go watch it." And I was like, "Oh, I'm getting blocked by the 9 p.m. thing. Like it's old school television. It was really annoying at times."
It was a little tricky a couple times. My work schedule for the first stretch of episodes was meant I wasn't home when it dropped anyway, so it would be out by the time I got home, which was great. The last couple of episodes, I was doing that watching the clock thing. I'm like, ooh, it's almost 6 o'clock here. I can get that pretty soon, and I queue it up. And you know, when the shows used to drop at midnight, Disney wasn't so strict about like, oh, you might be able to find it like 11:50. You know, like, oh, it's there already, 10 minutes early, boom. No, they were real tight on that 6 o'clock, 9 p.m. Eastern drop time. They were real strict about that.
Yeah, I know.
And I didn't care for that part of it, but still, it was nice to have the show here when I was not at work and when I was home from work.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that aspect. Not having to stay up till like 1:30 in the morning. Nice.
Yes, I didn't have to stay up like super late Monday night just because it's technically wink wink midnight.
Right. So
that was nice.
All right, so give me the broad stroke here. Like overall, thumbs up on this show or thumbs down on this show?
Thumbs up on this show. I did realize things about myself that I am not the biggest fan of Rebels as I thought I was.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in Rebels I don't care for.
Would you like to go into that a little bit? Because I suspect it may tie some things together here.
I mean, any force-sensitive animal, not interested. You know what one of my favorite parts was? When those stupid whales went through the minefield, I thought, good. I mean, I didn't want to actually see them die. I might say that on my podcast.
Oh, my gosh.
Also, in the climax, Ahsoka and the quote-unquote good guys are chasing our hero and trying to get on his ship. I was actively rooting against them. So I was rooting against Ahsoka in her own show, and I was like, I don't like being on this side.
so your Thrawn love overshadowed everything else in the show.
Yeah, well, then also he brings out this Enoch dude with a gold face, and I'm like, oh, I love whatever this guy's about. He didn't even have to say a word. He just looked cool.
Yeah, well...
It's old school Boba Fett.
A little surprised.
Empire Strikes Back, where you're like, "Oh, that guy's cool."
A little surprised we didn't get a big reveal on Captain Enoch here. Played by Wes Chatham from one of our favorite shows, from The Expanse.
Yeah, The Expanse.
So I was like, "Why aren't you dropping that guy's good-looking face into the show? What's going on here? Like, what's happening?"
I think he's alien. I think he's like Dathomirian or.
I mean, listen.
So I think he's going to look like Maul, and they want to save that for a cool reveal.
So you think he's like a Night Brother?
Yeah, and they don't want to pay for all the makeup until they have to pay for some of the makeup.
I mean, Wes Chatham would be a pretty good-looking Dathomiri, like a Night Brother. Yeah, he'd look pretty good.
Yeah, he has a great jaw for it.
It's going
to look.
I mean, pretty rad.
Yeah, it adds up. My brother did think he might be like a zombie, like one of the witch magic zombies.
Right. Okay.
But we don't hear the other guys talk after they get death troopered, whatever, zombified.
Right. Once the magic comes into play.
Yeah.
All right. So I know you and I had texted at one point during the show. One of the few conversations we had when the show was airing, when it was like, when's Thrawn going to be on this thing? Because it did feel like it took a little bit to get where we were going.
Way too long.
They had to lay a lot of track, and I was here for it. I was fine with it. It just I was sort of like, okay, we can move this along a little bit faster. I wish the pacing was a little bit more up tempo. That's probably like my biggest critique of the series. It was like I wish things just happened a little bit faster. But let's kind of go back to the beginning, because like those first two episodes when they dropped, I think a lot of us, Rebels fans or not, had questions like, wait, Sabine was doing what now in her downtime? Like there's this whole period where we're like, wait, Ahsoka and Sabine were training as Jedi?
A little bit. A little bit.
Did that come out of the blue for you, or were you sort of like, yeah okay, sure, I see it?
Honestly, I was like, did I miss that in the end of the show? Because season 4 is a little wonky, where like I really have trouble focusing on it.
Okay.
And it involves Thrawn, and I still have trouble. And I've watched it multiple times to try and.
Sure, there's a lot of threads they're pulling together there in that final season.
So I was like, and it's been a while.
Okay.
'Cause I did do an Ahsoka catch up where I reread the old book.
Yeah. Yep.
And I watched all her last 2 years of Clone Wars stuff.
Perfect.
Then,
That's nice.
I watched a bunch of what was that? Tales of the Jedi. I watched that again,
sure.
but just her stuff.
Okay.
I didn't watch the Dooku stuff because Dooku's not going to be in this show. I don't need to read Dooku myself.
Really?
I mean, I could. It's good. It's a good watch.
I actually am into that new verbiage, Reduku.
Yeah.
We may have to
Please.
incorporate that into the show more. I'm kind of in on that. That's cool. I still got a couple seasons of Clone Wars to finish. I could Reduku myself for a little bit.
Yeah. Anytime he shows up and they're back in the patch, be like, look, it's a Reduku episode where.
All right, so you've rewatched Rebels a couple times, and like you said though, you're not as big a fan as you think you are, or you thought you were.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that
kind of bumps me out a little bit.
Did that kind of taint those early episodes there, where it was sort of like
No, because
Rebels
you
reunion?
still want the reunion. You still get that feel. Like at the end, Ezra and Chopper.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's great. Like that reunion is nice. Zeb's not there. And I was like, he exists. He's around.
Yeah,
You've paid for that model already.
That effect exists. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the season. Looking at it now, I mean, I think I sort of talked about it a couple weeks ago. Where it's a lot of getting pieces into place to set big things up. Because the stakes at the beginning of the show, the stakes at the end of the show, it's the same show from beginning to end. Like, oh, we got to try and stop Thrawn. Well, guess what? That didn't happen. So there's no escalating of tension as far as the drama goes.
Yeah.
But I did like seeing the Rebels characters come to life. It was nice to see like Hera and Jason and all these characters that we were introduced to in animation, and make that transition because now we can use them in more stories, which is cool.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to start hiding younger Jedi characters like Grogu, like Jason, and be like, oh, guess what? You're going to this other galaxy while Kylo Ren murders everybody. And then you can come back later on as adults. Like, do you think they're going to start hiding their properties, Corn Horn style?
Love me some Corn Horn. That's a great reference.
Yeah. Like, nobody's going to kill this character but me.
I mean that was sort of, I feel like that was sort of that's sort of the end of Rebels to begin with. I mean, like they give you the reason why Thrawn's not there for the Galactic Civil War when the rebellion really kicks off. They give you a reason why there's not another Jedi in the galaxy because Kanan dies and Ezra's in another galaxy. And apparently Sabine was just like low key with Ahsoka somewhere else doing other things, which we still don't have an explanation.
Yeah, we still don't know where she was.
I'd still really like to know more about that. I'd still really like to know about when Ahsoka met Luke for the first time. Like, when do we get these moments?
What? I mean, so you wanted to bring back CGI Luke again?
Listen, Star Wars. So Disney/Star Wars has sort of made their bed, in my opinion. They want to live in this era of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia. And if you're just going to act like they don't exist, then why are we even here?
Well, I mean, they name drop Princess Leia. I bring it up on my podcast where I asked, are we going to get a CGI Leia? Or are they just going to finally bite the bullet and start recasting and letting another generation of actors play these characters?
Yeah. I mean, I personally think legacy characters have to have actual legacies. Like, you need to have new people play them. Carry on the tradition. Let it happen. It just... maybe there's a segment of fandom that's going to fight you, but tell them to suck it. They're still going to watch it.
They're all going to fight you, but it's nice. You could be like, each Han Solo will bring something different to the character, a different interpretation.
Yeah.
You might not like one movie's version, but it's okay. They're going to make more.
I mean, how many Batman have there been? How many James Bonds have there been? I mean, like this is
how many Captain Kirks?
Right. Like this is. They're very much limiting themselves if they're going to play this game where like, okay, we want to exist in this timeline where Luke is like the premier Jedi Knight, but we're never going to have him in any stories because Mark Hamill's old and we don't want to CGI him. Like, what are you doing? I feel like if you're going to play that game, you're cheating the fans.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
and,
can't.
and
You can't have.
especially after showing him, like if they didn't show him, like Luke went off in this version to start that school, and he took himself out of the equation.
Right.
But you've shown him come back,
Yeah.
and
No, and you can't. I don't think you can have Ezra be like alt Luke. The substitute
yeah,
Luke Skywalker for this storyline that they're
well,
doing.
that's what because they say heir to the Empire and stuff in the trailer for this.
Right.
He's coming back, and instead of a clone army, he now has a zombie army.
Right.
Is Ezra going to be like the Luke character, and Sabine the Myra Jade?
I mean, I wonder, but
Or is what's the blonde um
no Shin.
dark Jedi Shin?
Yeah.
Or is she going to be like the Myra Jade? Although she didn't really have any interaction with Ezra, so that analogy to the book is nothing.
No, I mean, and that's sort of the thing. Like, if they do like loose adaptations of those books, I think they're going to be very very different. Like they're definitely going down different territory. But I mean,
Oh yeah, they're going to also down a path I don't want to follow.
so I mean, before I kind of get into more of the character stuff, like what was the biggest, like when you say that, what exactly do you mean? Go ahead and elaborate. Get into it.
Oh man, it's the father, the brother, and the sister,
The daughter, yeah.
more
The
yeah, the
Mortis,
daughter,
the gods of Mortis.
Mortis.
Yeah. You don't want to
Yeah.
do that. You don't play that game.
No, I didn't like that trilogy of episodes when it first happened. I was like, oh, this is not this is not my favorite Star Wars, but it's only 3 episodes. Honestly, I hope we never go back. And then they've hinted at it
I mean, they hint,
in Rebels.
oof, and they lean into it pretty hard at the end of Ahsoka. I mean,
Yeah,
you're going back
yeah.
whether you want to or
We're
not.
there.
Yeah.
We're there. There's a big statue, and I was honestly, it was like at the end of Spaceballs when they're climbing out of the nose of Robo-Maid, and I'm like, well, shoot.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
But I get why people like it. But I'm also because I really like the witches. I think the witches are cool. So I'm really conflicted. Maybe I haven't given it a fair shake in my old age. I just shook my fist at it and ran from it.
I mean, the only thing I'm sort of tired of with the Gods of Mortis arc is like I'm just sort of tired of everyone trying to figure out who represents who in the Star Wars character. I'm just like, just let them tell their story, man. Obviously we know that Ahsoka and the daughter are linked together because she sacrificed herself to bring Ahsoka back to life for Anakin.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a representation of the son, but I'm not so sure is very much the case anymore. And then I got tired of people telling me that Anakin's now the father. And I was like, he's dead. I don't understand. But let them tell their story.
Wouldn't Baron be the father at this point? And then I don't know, Jace or Sabine. I don't know. I'm just gonna tell me. Tell me, and then I'll probably be like, no, sir, I don't like it.
When you're getting into like Force philosophies, I think there's a lot of ambiguity, and I'd rather them just tell me the story.
Instead of there's a ton of wiggle room.
Yeah, instead of me trying to like sit here and like analyze things without having try to put together like a puzzle without knowing what the picture is. Like I'll wait, show me the picture, and then we can figure it out. Then we can contextualize everything properly. But I mean, you mentioned it right there. They tease it right there. Balin on the finger of the statue, looking out towards Mordor to find the One Ring to rule them all, or whatever it is he's looking for. Like, what's he looking for? Come on, give me your best guess.
Yuuzhan Vong.
Numenor.
Numenor is on this planet. It's my last hope. That's what Thrawn helped the sisters defeat.
Okay.
And he pushed them back. They've run away from him, but he's had great losses. Now that he's gone, maybe my warrior dudes can come back.
So you're not leaning towards like it's been an online rumor for a while. We talked a little bit about it on our podcast. The whole Abeloth idea, like the sort of like a Force god.
Yes, not a fan of the Force god.
Abeloth drove me nuts.
I heard you talk about it. I mentioned it in one of mine where I couldn't remember Abeloth's name. I don't want it.
I know it drove you. That character drove you and I batty when those books were coming out.
Oh, so
like Luke
No,
Skywalker
I'm
about
not.
to win, and then they narrowly escape yet again. It's like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
like Batman and the Joker all over again. No
Yes, but
thanks.
I'll be back. Curse you, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I like. But it also might be the Grisk from the Thrawn books,
Yeah.
which I'm not a big fan of them as well. But it's just I also don't know anything about them, and I've read 6 books because
Yeah.
they're so secretive. You don't know anything about them.
Yeah, we don't seem all they don't seem all that interested in pushing any of the like Thrawn backstory stuff. You know, no Chiss ascendancy, the Grisk,
Oh,
none
season
of that
2,
stuff.
you're getting ascendancy.
You think so?
Eli is showing up
You
as a Grand Admiral in the ascendancy, and you're gonna be like, yes.
Eli Vanto from the books?
Uh, that hayseed, love him. Love him. One of my favorite things about those books, and the last trilogy doesn't even mention him.
So, yeah, I mean, I love the show kind of teasing these things. Like, I want to know what Balin's up to. I wish
Yeah.
I had a little bit more clarity on what's going on with Shin Hati, but I want to know more. I want their backstories. And I'm now, we talked about recasting. Balin is a character that I'm insanely curious about, and the tragic passing of Ray Stevenson too soon.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want his story cut short because of that. Like,
I think he's gonna like move a rock and get hit by like force lightning. Or he's gonna be wearing a mask and be the same character. You're just never gonna see Ray Stevenson's face.
that's fine. If you want to disfigure him to
Yeah.
honor Ray in some way, sure, okay, I'll accept that. I mean, if you're doing it within the story, the confines of the story, great. But yeah, don't cut Balin's story short. Like I found him to be a fascinating character. I want to know more about him, what he's been up to, how he found Shin Hati.
Yeah. Where he's been for 20 years.
I'm even curious about the whole misdirect with the Maruk character. Like, tell me more about that sad sack before you got gutted and turned into Night Sister Vapor or whatever it was.
The best our best theory is he was just a dead Inquisitor
Yeah.
that they just put the zombie fluid into. That's it.
No, and like I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, it doesn't
What a
have
weird
to be
head
anything
fake,
amazing,
though.
but it was a great head fake, right? Like, the internet was so distracted trying to figure out who this character was that they were like, yeah, he's nobody, gut him.
We spend 30 minutes of a podcast talking about who is in it and how important it must be.
Did you guys learn anything concrete?
No, our first episode we did on the first 3.
Yeah.
We make 7, 8, 9 predictions that were all immediately disproven in the next episode. It was amazing. We've never been so wrong. So if you want to hear somebody be wildly wrong guessing about Star Wars,
I can't wait. I'm going back. I'm queuing that up right after we're done recording.
yeah, you're gonna be like, wow, they're way off. They're all over the place.
I love it.
Yep.
No, I love it.
Yep.
I make fun of the internet on here all the time for their wild guesses and theories that make no sense. So I mean,
there's nothing I love more than just spitballing with friends
yeah,
and trying to think of the wildest thing that could possibly happen. Because if it's the 1 in a million shot. If it does, you have bragging rights for the rest of your life.
Oh, I remember us standing in line to see the Phantom Menace, and you're like,
"Oh yeah,
Maul is Anakin's brother," and I was like, "What?"
Could have happened. Could have happened.
And I was like, "If you're right, I'm gonna be so angry with you."
Look, sometimes you make wild decisions. And I think I said he was like Palpatine's son or something like that.
Maybe. I thought it was Anakin's brother, but maybe I've misremembered the story over the 25 years since or whatever it was.
Look, we didn't know. The internet was new then.
Yeah, so I want to go back to something you touched on because, again, I wanted to get your thoughts, and clearly you and I are on the same page already. Like, clearly Thrawn's been doing something's been going on with Thrawn while he's out there, while he's been in exile. He's fought somebody, right? Like, they just haven't been like Stormtrooper armor and the ship's in that condition, not because it's deteriorating, because it's been so long with no maintenance. Like, they were in combat with somebody, right? Like,
yeah, they've been fighting constantly. He says we've taken heavy losses.
Right. But, I mean, clearly not from those bandits. So, like, do we see the threat? Will that be revealed in Season 2 with Ahsoka?
I think it's going to be Season 2, and I think it's going to be half with Ezra in our universe, half in whatever, Universe B. I don't even think they gave it a name.
Yeah, we just know the planet, the Peridia.
Yeah. And I think the threat's going to come back once it realizes that Star Destroyer is gone.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, it's just Ahsoka and Sabine hanging out with crab people, fighting raiders.
Not not the Vegas Raiders, though.
No, not them. Slightly worse raiders, if it's to be believed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so intrigued by everything. Like, again, it's Star Wars. I get it. This is what they do. They just don't tell you what happened before. It's like you get like a vague reference to like the Clone Wars in the first movie, and you're like, well, that sounds cool. Tell me more. And you're like, nope.
You got to wait 20 years.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, great. They're just going to string this along, classic Star Wars style, I guess. But yeah, okay. So where do I want to go next? I mean, what did you think of Thrawn's alliance with the Night Sisters? When you first read The Courtship of Princess Leia back in the day, did you ever think the Dathomiri Night Sisters would be this big?
No, I never thought they'd be anything ever.
Like, that book is so wild and crazy, and the fact that a couple of ideas from it have transitioned into the new canon, first being reintroduced in the Clone Wars, and now in live action as well, that's wild.
They're also retconning Battle for Endor Witch as she's a Night Sister now.
They did the
one who turned into a crow.
Into a bird, yeah.
She has no other Night Sister magic. She must be really low on her ball magic or whatever, wherever they get their power from.
Right.
Oh, yes, I did have a lot. You want to hear my wild speculation of why they're... Because the show ends and they're at
they go to
Dathomir.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember at the end of the Ventress book. Where's she buried? Did he take her back to her homeworld and bury her with her kind?
I do not remember.
I think he did.
So you think they're going to go resurrect Asajj Ventress?
Asajj Ventress, zombie style. Get ready for it. That was my wild parting thought.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. That seems outlandish, but you know what? I like it. I'm in for it. I'm here for it.
I was like, it's so crazy. It's never going to happen. But if it does, it's going to be wild.
So you're cool with that partnership, Thrawn and the Night Sisters. You're cool with it. It sort of feels.
It feels something like it feels exactly something Thrawn would do.
It does, strategic. Though it is interesting that all of a sudden like the Night Sister, the Dathomiri Night Sisters are from another galaxy, and you're like, I actually really enjoyed that reveal, but I was like, it just felt so far out of left field.
Yeah,
like something that's never been hinted at even before.
Well, I was wondering, are they from another galaxy, or did they just go from Dathomir to this other galaxy?
I have to go back to the show, but I thought they said that they left their galaxy, their home. That's their home galaxy. They left it because of some sort of threat, probably the one that Thrawn dealt with, to go to Dathomir. Riding the whales like Ahsoka did to get there. That's my recollection.
Okay, so they rode the whales over.
Yeah, they learned how to like harness the whales or something,
and then forgot.
Well,
I guess they're all dead.
I'll have to go back to that first episode where they get to Peridium and we are introduced them. But I'm pretty sure there was a line about how they escaped
I guess
the confines of their galaxy.
She's building this big ring ship. I guess she has to because the whales can't take the Star Destroyer back. Well, they took it there. The whales can definitely take it back.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like part of their migration pattern, apparently. Yeah. I mean, and they can flex that in whenever they want and flex it however they want to do it. It does. That was sort of an interesting revelation, right? Like, not only are the Night Sisters of Dathomir from another galaxy, but apparently, like a long time ago, the Jedi would just go back and forth between galaxies. They made it sound like it was something that happened on a fairly regular basis, and then it sounds like something must have happened for them to like destroy that tech or whatever they were using, because they're like, oh no, there's bad things over there. We don't want them over here.
They've never done that in like the High Republic books, which I haven't read them.
I mean, I'm a little behind right now on Phase 2, but like they've not hinted at anything extra galactic.
Okay. I wonder if they'll start to hint at that, because that's only a few hundred years, right?
Yeah.
It's not like the 10,000 that the Old Republic was.
Right. And like the 100,000 that they're teasing for like Dawn of the Jedi or whatever.
Yeah.
So And again, like I sort of, I've talked about like, oh, maybe they're going to use it, in the Dawn of the Jedi book, like hypergates were a thing. Essentially Stargate kind of esque technology. Do they uncover that? Is that how they get back to the main galaxy? Do they bring that tech back from the old expanded universe canon? There's a lot they can do here, and I'm very intrigued by the ideas of what they could.
You can't just pass matter through the Force. So maybe if they think really hard while they're all on the ship, like holding hands.
I was going to ask you about this because I was curious if this is what
just
the
so you know
sisters...
at home, his eyes are closed so tight because he's kind of annoyed at what I just said to him.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you thought that's what the Night Sisters did when they brought the Blade of Talzin into their galaxy.
A billion. Yes. Where else did it come from?
That's what. Again, I
had to Google. I was like, is that the same sword?
From the Clone Wars, yeah.
I was like, yeah, it is. Okay.
No, you didn't like my Mary Poppins purse idea from last episode, where I was like, maybe they have like access to a pocket dimension, and they just keep all their cool stuff in there. Not so much. You're like, nope, they just pass it.
No, that's fine. But doesn't someone on the other side, while they're dying, have to open that pocket dimension and be like, I'm going to hide my sword in here. Hopefully, there's ancestors in another galaxy that will check.
Yeah.
This pocket dimension when they finally get a fourth sister.
It's like dry cleaning. If you have the ticket, you're good to go. So Morgan Elsbeth clearly had that dry cleaning ticket with her.
She had that ticket.
Yeah, so she brought it over with her.
I am glad that they made her a Night Sister.
I thought that was a nice touch.
Their fight from The Mandalorian has always bothered me.
There were so many, again, classic Star Wars. I had so many questions.
Yeah. How did she go toe-to-toe with one of the best fighting Jedi of all time?
They kind of like painted her like some sort of warlord. And then like, when they reintroduced the character this time around, it was like, oh no, she's just some weird sort of sycophant of Thrawn. And I'm like, how does she know Thrawn? What are we getting at here? And then they talk about her. Oh no, she's an Imperial contractor. She built ships.
Yeah, she was a contractor making ships.
Yeah, so that makes more
Thrawn
sense.
Wanted to get a ship. That all makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm down with it now.
She was probably a big booster for his tie program.
I was like, that's the thing, right? Like, she's all about those ties he wanted. The tie defenders, big fan, big fan. Maybe she had the contract on those. So she got a lot of cash when Tarkin took it all for the Death Star.
That
Tarkin.
I like that little fill where she's just like, man, screw that Tarkin guy, taking nice Imperial credits out of my bank account for some mystery project that no one knows about.
Oh man, I mean, we've already talked about a lot of things I had on my notes here. Let me ask you this. All right, we obviously we are both fans of the Thrawn, Night Sister, Night Brother, Dathomiri alliance. As you and I are aged Star Wars fans, who read the original Thrawn trilogy from Timothy Zahn, do you feel like they're using to an extent, are the Dathomiri, are the Night Sisters like a sort of a substitute for the Nogri?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you do.
I thought that the whole time. Do you think he's going to get some sort of force dampening creatures from somewhere?
I don't think so, because he has the Night Sisters now, so you don't need that.
That might not affect the Night Sisters, because I also think that the Night Sisters are taking the Seaboth role from the books,
especially if they were to reanimate.
And also Balin,
especially if they were to reanimate Ventress, because Balin I thought might be the substitute for Jorah Seaboth initially, but clearly he's got his own agenda and he's doing his own thing.
Well, also Thrawn doesn't want to be near that dude.
No, he doesn't like Jedi at all.
No, I get it.
He's not going to play any crazy ones for
Thrawn
sure.
just lost 9 years of his life, and he's been fighting, God knows what.
Right.
Barely holding on with one ship.
In his uniform, bit tattered. He's seen some stuff.
Still looks pretty good. There's no dry cleaner on that ship.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was really, I have been really, really excited seeing Thrawn in live action. I mean, this is something you and I have been talking about for a really, really long time. This is like a dream come true kind of scenario for us. So to see it, it was great when they brought him back into Rebels. I love that. That was phenomenal. But this was like the next thing. I was like, whoa, they're going here. This is awesome. They're making this stuff, all the stuff you and I used to hang around, talk about in your parents' kitchen. is
Can't
happening.
say never going to happen.
Right? Yeah, yeah, but it's happening now. Like you and I have lived to see it. We are in the golden age. It's amazing.
Yeah, I used a super rare, if you're married, wife shush during the Thrawn reveal, where I turned the TV up real loud and we're laying in the bed together. She's reading or doing something. And so I just turn the TV up because I want to hear the music. I want to hear the like the wind blowing. I want to hear it all.
Yes,
I don't want
sir.
to miss a thing. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm, shh, it's happening. This is what it's all about. And it didn't disappoint, even a little bit.
My wife did something similar. She's like, "You're watching that really loud." It's like, it's not loud enough.
You don't get it.
It's like, I've been
It's
waiting
been
for
since
this
like
for so long.
1997.
For you, for me, it was a couple years before
Yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah, like I brought those books to you, and I'm like, here, check these
you
out.
did. You're like, check these out. They're pretty good. I mean, they're great.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I mean that's sort of like the fun part, right? Like, and I don't mean that in like when I ask if like the Night Sisters are like a substitute for Ruka and the Nogrians, like I don't mean that as like a knock. I'm just sort of like, I'm just kind of comparing notes with another fan of the Zahn books. You know, like,
Yeah.
Like I love that they're bringing elements from those books in, but they're clearly doing their own thing. Like Filoni definitely has the story he wants to tell, and like you know he'll crib what he wants from those books, but he definitely has his own ideas, and I think that's really really cool. So I'm excited for the unknown element of that.
Yeah, and the Hera and Ezra, they can take over for Talon Card, Mara Jade in their ship. Ghost?
In the Ghost, yeah.
Ghost?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the card ship was. What was Talon Card's ship? The Lady Luck or something like that? No, that's Lando's
that was
ship.
Lando's ship. Wasn't
That's
it
Lando's ship.
like Wild Card or something? Like the Wild Card?
Yeah, Wild Card. See, they had some clever names back in the day. You don't get that anymore.
No, I said it like the third, like I don't know, third episode of review. I was like, can we call the T6 something cool, please? I don't want to call it the T6.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
That's what it is.
Give it a name.
Surprised it doesn't have a nickname.
Right?
Maybe after the Boba Fett thing, they're like, we're out of the nickname game. Everything's now going to be like 2121A14A2-B.
You know, the Enterprise is still the Enterprise. You can call it NCC 1701D if all you want. It's still the Enterprise, though, okay?
Unless it's the Titan.
Unless... Good Lord. All right.
Don't get me started on that.
I already injected too much Star Trek into
nonsense.
I already injected too much Star Trek into this episode.
Do your fans get upset? Or they're like, you can't like both? You can't like multiple things?
No, I get upset because I gotta keep my house in order. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll bring Farscape up in this right now. I will.
We acknowledged West Chatham from Farscape. Yeah. Or no, you
No.
said Farscape. We said The Expanse. Sorry.
Yeah,
Well, Claudia
I brought
Black
up another
from
space
Farscape.
whale.
I mentioned that show.
Yeah.
Another space whale, Moya. Good Lord, Reagan. Throw me off.
And Claudia Black's amazing.
What
National treasure.
So what's from Australia?
From Australia.
All right, we talked about Sabine and Ahsoka vaguely. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the big episode, The World Between Worlds, Ahsoka and Anakin Skywalker. Give me your thoughts. How'd it hit you?
Right in the feels.
It got you. Because
as soon as he calls her Snips.
I really did enjoy the fact that this series in particular bridged the gap of those animated shows by connecting all the eras basically together finally, right? Like, so you bring back Hayden Christensen and you have him with his Padawan that he never even knew he had when he was Anakin Skywalker in those movies. And I loved kind of crossing that over, and I loved the flashbacks with the young Ahsoka and him in the battle. All that stuff was incredible.
I didn't think it had to be a young Ahsoka. And if you were going to make a different Ahsoka, I was hoping they'd get Ashley or what?
Ashley
who did the? Yeah, I was hoping she would get to be the younger Ahsoka, even though she's not younger. They could work on it. It would just be somewhat different. I don't know. But it's all in her mind, so she doesn't have to be the younger version of herself.
I loved all of that so much.
And I liked it as well too.
And then obviously like the flashes of Anakin and Vader when they'd be like that light change and like you see the outline of the silhouette of Vader instead. I'm like, that's so freaking cool. And when the lightsaber goes red instead of blue, like all of it, it hits you in the right places. And it's sort of like that moment that you've always wanted those characters to have that they never got to have at the end. So I was really excited about it. And then when they brought the Force Ghost of Anakin back at the end of the last episode, I was like, my freaking heart was in my throat, which was very strange. Like, I cry at a lot of things, but that got me in a way I did not expect.
I was so happy. I was like, oh, I really just want him to talk. And I didn't know if she could see Anakin, and she just, like Sabine can't. She can just feel a warm presence or whatever.
Right.
I was like, oh, maybe Ahsoka just wants it to herself for now, while they're there.
It was. I thought it was a really cool a moment for the Anakin character in particular because, you know, for a long time, like I think you could look at it in a sense that, you know, Anakin's failings are numerous, and he failed many people by taking that turn, and in a sense he still failed Ahsoka, but in many regards he gave her all the tools to be who she is and to be like this amazing survivor of a character who's come a long way. So in a sense, like they were saying that, you know, like he tries to tell her in The World Between Worlds is like she's part of this legacy now, and just because he made a horrible choice doesn't mean she's going to make a horrible choice. And it just was like this beautiful moment for those characters to have, and it sort of crystallizes who Ahsoka is moving forward now.
Yeah.
Because again, you know, I talked about it in the podcast, and you guys probably did as well. Like those first couple episodes, you're like, why is Ahsoka so grumpy? You know?
We talk about, like, we don't know why she is like she is. She's not like she is in the show. That's for sure. And then I got shouted down because people can change in 20 years. And I said, I haven't changed one iota in 20 years.
That is a factual statement, folks. That is true.
I don't know if it's a good thing or not.
Oh, I didn't say that either. I just said it's true. Yeah, so and I like that after that episode, we get to the Ahsoka I think we all sort of expected to see. You know, the one that we saw Rosario play in The Mandalorian, more or less, you know?
Yeah.
Not one sort of burdened by the weight of being the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker, which, again, it felt like something new for the character, and I'm not really sure it required exploring, but I ultimately sort of ended up glad that they did, because you got those cool moments between Anakin and Ahsoka that probably needed to happen at some point.
Honestly, I don't feel that enough of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a lot of Ahsoka is just kind of staring, saying very little,
Sure,
and then fighting, and which is cool. I want to know about the last 25 years of Ahsoka.
I know,
And we're getting, you know, just eye dropped little bits of Ahsoka knowledge.
Well, and you know, there's a part of me that thinks that like now that season 1 again has moved the pieces around the board where they want them, so maybe now we can kind of explore more of these elements. You know, maybe season 2, when it's finally announced, you know, they open up and it goes back in time and it shows what Ahsoka and Sabine were probably doing for the rebellion during, you know, the Galactic Civil War. You know, what exactly they were up to. Kind of give us some hints of what was going on. You know, stuff like that. What's that?
Playing Sabacc.
Playing Sabacc. Yeah, fair. Clearly, it was not stopping Operation Cinder from happening. Which, when you played Battlefront 2, did you think that was going to be as big a deal in the new continuity as it is? Like, my goodness.
No. I know I like the game.
Yeah, but you're like, oh, Bill Burr's character from The Mandalorian, part of Operation Cinder. Now all of a sudden
he was there.
We realized 9,000 Tears. Oh, that was part of Project Cinder. Geez, Palpatine, vindictive guy.
Are you surprised?
No, not at all. But I had no idea when Battlefront 2 came out. They sort of teased like, oh, there's gonna be this compass in it, and like you'll see it in The Last Jedi when it comes out. It's on Luke Skywalker's table, and it means something to him. And like that was sort of like the big tease to the connection for all the continuity. Yeah. Now apparently Project Cinder itself is just like everyone's like, no, that was cool. We like that element. We're gonna use that.
We're gonna use it as a plot point.
Yeah.
All for it. Do you think they're gonna split this show into 2, and we're gonna get a live action Rebel show with Hera, Jason, Ezra, Chopper?
So I
and then Ahsoka season 2. But you think it's going to be, Mork and Mindy spinoff from Happy Days?
I have sort of wondered about that because I feel like there's a lot of story to tell, and if you try to keep it in one series, it feels like it'll be somewhat limiting. Because you'll be splitting half of an episode with Ahsoka and Sabine on Peridia doing chasing after Balin and whatever he's up to, and then you have to do the other stuff in the other galaxy. It feels like a lot for one show. That's going to be like 8 episodes again or something like that. That feels like too much for one series. Especially the way Star Wars seems to tell their stories these days.
Yeah, somebody's going to get shortchanged,
right?
In that transaction.
Yeah, I feel like there does need to be like a live action Rebels show at this point, and like why not? Those actors and those characters are here. They've been cast. They probably have big contracts and deals to be in multiple different things. I think you also have to wrap the Mandalorian into this at some point because they've obviously painted that picture already.
It's all leading to that movie.
All leading to that movie, exactly. So like as many shows as you need to tell that story are fine by me, and I think most Star Wars fans are here for it. So bring it on.
Yeah. Where's Captain Rex? Where is he?
I need to know. Rex is on my list too.
So surprised he wasn't in this season somewhere.
I mean, you got like that little cameo in the World Between Worlds. It wasn't enough. I get it.
Not enough. I need the old version. I want to see him alive after the Empire fell.
No, I mean that's completely reasonable. I totally get it.
I want to see him crush a stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah.
Like on the battle, like on Endor, like just crush a helmet, Terminator style.
I mean, that I need all the I need all the clone answers I can get. I need to know all these things. Yeah. I want to know what the clone we still don't really have an answer. Maybe the Bad Batch will get into it in their final season. Like we still don't really know the ultimate fate of the clones after the birth of the Empire. Like, I need to know these things.
Yeah, well, we see an old clone in Obi-Wan.
Right. And, obviously...
That's it.
Rex links up with the Rebels at a certain point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a lot of clones out there still, and I don't know their fate, and that bums me out.
Cal gets them to Mandalore.
Well, see, so... you bring that up, but, like, no joke, I'm rereading those books right now.
They're so good, aren't they?
They're so great.
They're so good. They're so good.
Great. And I'm just like, the brilliance of these books is sort of like the simplicity that it requires, where it's like, oh yeah, no, like this guy's come up with an exit strategy for these clones that he's raised, that he considers like children, basically, like his children. Like, why can't Star Wars in its continuity tell me a story like this, where like somebody cares about the clones, actually wants to help them?
Yeah, and it was making like an underground railroad,
right? We saw
for clones to get out.
So, and I think I may have mentioned it during Kenobi, like we see an underground railroad for Force-sensitive people.
Yeah.
Why don't we see one for clones? Why don't we see for people like who know they're about to be what's the word I want to use?
Phased out.
Phased out. That's a good word. We'll go with phased out. That's a nice way of saying it.
It's the most PC way.
Yeah. And
I'm sure that's how Tarkin pitched it at his original meeting.
If you want to be like a corporate guy, they're a redundancy now at this point. Since you have enlisted officers, from across the galaxy, they're a redundancy, a needless one at that, and they take up a lot of resources apparently. So yeah, give me those clone answers. Like, let me know what they're up to. Why, I feel like we're off track, but I'm. I had to get that off my chest.
I agree with you. I want to know more about the clones as well. I don't think we're ever going to get that. Are we going to get live Bad Batch people?
Ooh, what a thought that would be.
Because they're finishing their run,
and they're different.
They could show up. We don't know where they go. An adult Omega.
Yeah. Ooh.
If she survives the last season,
I'm intrigued.
I would love to see as many of the surviving animated shows if they want to bring them. You have Rex and he's like, I know who to call. We're in trouble. I'm going to call some friends of mine. And then the Bad Batch shows up as old men.
I mean, that has to be the move, right? I mean, you have these elements.
I think that's where they're going, right?
I mean, especially if you're building towards this giant movie, if you want it to have the scale and the scope that a Star Wars film should have, yeah, bring it all home. Bring everything that Filoni's been laying track for the last.
That's going to be the reveal
years.
At the end of the movie trailer. Where he's like, I called in a friend. and like Wrecker's gonna come off with the same outfit, and he's just gonna be old. And you're gonna be like, oh, that's amazing.
Old Wrecker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Bad Batch season 3 is coming. Maybe we'll get some answers, but yeah, the Fate of the Clones is paramount in my mind.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch season 2 because I don't remember where they finished.
Interesting places.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch. It's
But yeah, like you said, I mean, we're building up to a movie. I feel like another Star Wars show makes sense to tell the story of Thrawn in the other galaxy against the awful New Republic that deserves to be destroyed by the Empire.
yeah, they're not doing great stuff.
Good Lord. Am I a bad person for saying that? Or like they
No.
suck, right?
Yeah, they're not great. You've seen them be bad in Mandalorian.
Right.
I was gonna say Andor. That wasn't them in Andor. They weren't great there either.
But at least in Andor, it's the Empire. Like we get it.
Yeah.
You see when you see him in the Mandalorian last season, like there's still way too many shades of like, oh, this feels like Andor still. Gross. And like there's that scene when I'm blanking on the clone guy's name now. When he after his big thing at the opera hall, right? And like the elite 1%er guy doesn't even know who the government is anymore.
Yeah,
It's like it's all just the same nonsense. And I was like, yeah, that's actually a really big statement for the Star Wars galaxy. Just substituting one.
Is Mon
bureaucrat.
Mothma the ruler?
I think she is the head of.
She's a
the New
key
Republic.
figure. Is she
Yeah.
the head? Like she was, she was in the books of the EU.
Yeah, well, in the new one too, she is like, the chancellor of the New Republic. I believe that's the title
Okay.
for her. Yeah, and how many elements from those new canon books are they going to bring in? I'm not 100% sure of. I don't know if they need to necessarily. They're laying a lot of, they're setting that up pretty nicely too. But it is sort of funny because you can go back to that EU and sort of. I don't think it was as overt in the old EU as it is now, where it's just like, oh, the New Republic, they stink. They suck. Like this is what our heroes fought for. Trash. Straight trash.
I don't remember it being like that in the book though. It was just like utopia.
But you had those senators who were like like Borsk Filea, right?
I knew you were gonna bring that.
I love those Bothans, and we still haven't seen any
hate that
Bothans
guy
in the new.
so much.
We haven't seen any Bothans in the new canon, and that bothers me to no end.
Well, they died for nothing apparently.
And Borsk, remember he gets to be the chancellor right when the Yuzhan Vong show up, so you probably love him
I
for
know.
that. Didn't handle that real well, did he?
No, doesn't he get like murdered like
Pretty badly.
He Vector Prime, right? No, it's the second book. It's the second book.
I think he lasts further than the first book, yeah. But I think the Yuzhan Vong basically crashed their ship into the Senate Hall, not like a kamikaze kind of crashing, just like our seed ship's gonna come down here, and that's where we're gonna spill out all over Coruscant, right on top of Borsk.
They were so cool in the beginning. They were so cool.
No, that book series went too long. That was the problem.
Yeah, when you sign him for like 25 books, like, oh, no. Like 10. Let's tell 10.
Yeah, take it down a notch, fellas. Come on.
Way too much padding. But somebody just flick those Jedi out of the way that are just,
So I definitely, all right. Well, if the Yuzhan Vong were to show up, I definitely think they stay in that galaxy. They do not make the crossover. That becomes like the threat that.
Well, I
Ahsoka
think
has
the
to
whole
head
season
off, right?
would be to like seal up the hole or however they're trying to get across.
Okay.
Like it would be a race to stop them from their invasion.
That makes sense. Okay.
But I mean, how big of a threat are they if one Star Destroyer is holding them off?
Yeah, but I mean that's how like
it is
the
Thrawn.
level of BA that Thrawn is. All right.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my complaints about Thrawn. I was like, I never felt like he was 3 steps ahead like you do in the books.
Yeah.
I chalked it up. He doesn't have the resources.
That's
He does
fair.
the best he can. Like he has nothing left at this point,
that
and he still bashed 3 Jedi.
So that's sort of like one of the
And
things.
he lets them know the whole time I'm ahead of you.
I know, but that was one of the things I think I talked about like around like episode 6 or 7. I was like, why doesn't Thrawn have his Star Destroyer like packed and loaded already, like ready to go? Like why do we like? Oh, they showed up. Like now we can begin loading. Like I'd be packed and ready to move. Let's go.
I think he was out fighting.
You think it's that recent? You think it's that recent?
Yeah, I think he's constantly fighting.
I mean, that makes sense. And
Yeah, he's holding off.
I speculated that like whatever was being kept in the Night Sisters temple there couldn't be removed too soon. But I mean, I don't really know. They haven't given us that information.
Obviously, bodies.
Right, but I mean, like, maybe there was a reason why they couldn't just be packed up and loaded on the Chimera, awaiting rescue. Maybe there is a reason why they had to stay down in those temples. Maybe they're like hooked up to something or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
they've
slows.
they've never given us that information. Or maybe they had to be like, maybe they're like Dracula's and they had to be in the soil or something. I don't know.
When they're in the pods in the trees on Dathomir,
right? Yes.
They can just stay there forever. That's just like their resting spot.
Right, but they're in the trees, right? So they're being
so the trees are
by the
protecting
planet,
from the elements.
Yeah, so they're getting some kind of sustenance, I would imagine, from the trees to kind of keep them from decaying too badly. So maybe there's something like that going on. But again, if that's the case, you can give me that information. It can just be a throwaway line. Again, I suppose the biggest knock I have on the show is like I have so many questions. Just give me more information. Tell me more. I'm like
Please.
Starship Troopers. Like, would you like to know more? Yes, I would. Tell me. Where's the button for yes? It's like, oh my gosh, just fill in some blanks for me, please. I want to know. That's my biggest knock on the show is I want to know more.
Yeah, I definitely want to know more. And there were 0 answers pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, I guess you see the Mordor statue, and you're like, oh, I guess that's what he's after, to stop the cycle somehow.
Yeah, I mean, again, tell me more about Balin. Tell me more about Shin. I want to know what he's looking to do. I want to know, he's such an interesting character. He's not a Dark Jedi. Thrawn calls him a mercenary. I mean, I guess he is a Dark Jedi. He's not a Sith, though.
I was calling him a Dark Jedi because he says he's not a Sith.
Right.
But he uses the Force.
Yeah, and he has like this cool like Halloween orange lightsaber. It's awesome. But yeah, I mean, this is another character. Like,
so he's mostly evil.
What have you been up to? Like, where were you during the Galactic Civil War? Like, you clearly were a Jedi during the Clone Wars, but did you walk away? Did you, before Order 66, or did you escape from Order 66? What have you been doing?
I mean, Thrawn has that information. I'm sure he looked it up because they have that database.
I know, but I'm just saying, as an audience, I want the information.
Oh, I know. Well, you should go on Wikipedia and see if they've updated the.
But that's the thing.
Database.
That's the thing that's going to annoy me, right? Like in a year, I'm going to get like I'll see the advanced solicitation for some Star Wars Marvel comic where it's like Balin Skull's backstory right here, and I'm like, no, I wanted the show. Come on.
I was just going to ask you. I was like, are they still doing like tie-in comics?
Not for this yet, but they probably will.
Are they doing it for The Mandalorian or any of the other shows?
Actually, this period they seem to be staying away from right now. They're letting Filoni tell his story the way he wants to tell his story. Oh,
I was like, I wonder if it's like an old school like George Lucas can't talk about this time period thing.
No, I mean the main Star Wars comics right now are currently really entrenched in the era in the period between Empire and Jedi. And then you got a bunch of High Republic comics, and then like a smattering of like rando miniseries here and there, but like nothing really in like the Mandalorian Ahsoka timeline.
Yeah, like the 5 years after.
Yeah, that New Republic era, not necessarily. And all right, this is gonna be a cheap shot, but I can't resist. The only thing that bums me out is I know Thrawn, it's obviously it's all going to go awry at some point because the First Order will rise.
Yeah.
And that bums me out to think that that's the next step.
It's okay. I got a fix for you. He lets them rise because he goes home to the Chiss Ascendancy where he's been trying to get back to this whole time. Honestly, he doesn't care about the Empire.
He's over it. He's done.
He's done. They lost. He's okay with it. He's keeping up appearances to keep his men in line.
Yeah.
And to be the leader they need. As soon as he starts smelling unknown regions, he's going to send a little message out for a Skywalker to come and pick him up.
I did really like when we finally get to that episode where they introduce Thrawn, and he's coming through the stormtroopers and they're chanting his name like this cult like sycophants. I love that so much, and I wish they had done a little bit more with that. Like I wish we kind of had the chance to. I wish there would be a character that would kind of give us that Imperial perspective on why Thrawn is the leader that commands this kind of loyalty and respect. You know, we're as an audience who doesn't know that character, they're just being told these things.
Yeah,
I want people
that hasn't read the books. So.
Yeah, I want people to see that Thrawn is a good commander who's worthy of this sort of admiration.
Yeah,
and you know, I don't think any of your brothers read through the books. I mean, like for them, was Thrawn like a compelling character, or are they sort of like tapped out on it? They're like, I don't know who this guy is.
Brian's basically like, I'm tapped out, and honestly, I go crazy like when he shows up in our podcast, where I won't stop talking about how much I love him, how cool he is. You know, it's you fall in love, and then you see a new version of that love, and you fall in love all over again. But
yeah.
they see him as cool, but it's not the same level that you or I would have because we've been so into the character for so long.
Yeah, we're nuts. So,
oh yeah, too.
I mean, we are Thrawn sycophants. We would be chanting his name too.
Yes. Oh, so. I was the whole time. And that's what I don't think because they're going to need a main villain for the movie that's coming.
All right. Yeah. I mean, you're building
right
Thrawn
now. All we have is Thrawn, or maybe Force God.
Okay. Sure.
Can shoot through, and that's why I'm hoping it's the Vong. Because then you can get the Chiss Ascendancy to come through. You can get a bunch of people.
I'm perfectly happy with Thrawn being like the main bad guy here for this big film. Like let's use these shows to keep propping him up and him building this new empire. Like him, organizing the warlords. You know, we saw in was it? Is it the Mandalorian? Right?
Mandalorian.
We saw. Yeah,
Paleon shows up with a glorious mustache.
Yeah, I mean, like Thrawn has allies in this galaxy. Let's see him bring the Imperial remnant together. Let's see him bring the Night Sisters back. Let's see him continue to bring allies to his side of the fight. Who all these characters? I mean, like I said, the New Republic's a joke, and we can't be the only ones who see it. There's probably a bunch of people in the galaxy who are like, you know what? They do suck. These rebels, these clowns, they know what they're doing. Like, bring back, order. Bring back the Empire. Like, you can build Thrawn into that villain, but at the same time, you have to show us why he's different than Vader and the Emperor and all the other Imperials that have come before. And
he's doing it for the greater good.
But the greater good. That's the one thing we haven't seen yet from Thrawn is like, why does he command this level of respect? And I really wish they'd get to it.
Also, he joined the Empire to stop a greater threat for the Chiss. We still don't need. We assume it's the Grisk.
Right, but again, you are bringing elements in from the books and that maybe don't actually exist.
They're new books though; they haven't been discounted yet.
They haven't been discounted yet, but they're going to pick and choose what elements they want to incorporate.
Yeah,
but I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see the Chiss Ascendancy show up. I'd love to see more of that stuff. Like, bring it.
Yeah, Aralani show up. You're going to lose your mind.
I'm going to lose my mind. It's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait. So, like, the possibilities are endless. I just want there to be at some point, there has to be some kind of character who can explain Thrawn to an audience who maybe doesn't know him of why he is to be respected and feared at the same time.
Yeah.
We didn't really get that.
It's going to be his first engagement with the New Republic, where it's going to be just like in the original trilogy, where Thrawn shows up with like one Star Destroyer against, I think, a big fleet. Mm-hmm. And I don't even remember how, but he wipes out that entire fleet, and they're like, "Oh no, what just happened there?"
Is he gonna go looking for dreadnoughts now that he's back? He's gonna look for a fleet of dreadnoughts that are missing.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut right there. I forgot all about the dreadnoughts.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on.
that fleet that just jumped away till it was convenient for it to jump back.
Hey, yeah, but he figured out where it was and jumped back too.
That's right.
Smart guy. He's a smart guy.
Yeah. Look, he had several layers to that plan.
There's a lot of plate spinning on that one.
Yeah.
But he's the man for it.
Yeah, I mean, it all ended with him getting stabbed in his chair, though.
Oh, spoilers for a 30-year-old novel.
I spoiled it. Also, really, really fast on my podcast. I mean, if it's a 30-year-old book, can it be spoiled at this point?
No, of course
it's
not.
a book that's been redone.
I was teasing you, but yeah. I'm with you. It's totally fine.
Also, did that Noki survive Rebels? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Rook. Did
Yeah.
Rook live?
No, I don't think he does.
Oh, okay.
I
I
will
was
have
like,
to. I'll have
is
to
Rook
double check.
kicking out there somewhere?
No, I'm pretty sure he met a fairly gruesome fate by animation standards. I will have to look into that. I feel
I can't, he was fighting like Zeb or something, right?
yeah, I thought he got pushed in like a Star Destroyer exhaust port or something weird.
Oh, maybe.
It's, something.
Look, Maul lived.
That was that was one of my favorite rumors about the Maruk character. It's like it's Maul into that mask. I was like, oh my god, can we just let Maul be left alone?
He died on Tatooine.
Oh no. Yeah, I know.
We saw that happen
We saw
again.
We saw it happen, people.
It was full circle. It was beautiful.
Tear to my eye.
Yeah, it could be Darth Revan, Darth Scion. There are a bunch of other Darths out there.
There's so many Darths out there. Bring it, man.
It could have been Star Killer.
I mean, that was a big rumor. I don't know if you heard that. That was a big rumor.
I loved that rumor.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's not fighting like Star Killer. It's not Sam under there. But if he had screamed and like double thrusted, I would have been like, "Oh, that's awesome."
I don't think he's talked about it publicly, but I mean that like led to the Star Killer rumors was that apparently Sam Witwer did the voice, like the very minimal voice work for the Maruk's character.
Oh, I didn't know he did. I saw you doing interviews. I didn't know why. I just assumed people were like, "Hey, you're a Star Wars guy. Let me talk to you."
Well, actually,
like, okay.
Him and his brother have like a new Dungeons and Dragons book out. So, and not like a novel, not like a fiction, not like a story, like an actual like, hey, this is a book about the game.
They wrote a campaign.
Did they write a campaign too?
I don't know. I'm asking.
It's like a book about like how great the new 5th edition is and like all the characters and the monsters and stuff for it.
Oh, okay. They didn't write their own story or anything.
No, it's not like that. But like, I know he's been doing. He and his brother have been doing a bunch of signings in the LA area for the book, which would be cool to go to. But I don't want to go to LA, so. Yeah, I don't know. Who else did we not talk about? I mean, we haven't talked about Huang, but Huang's awesome. What else do you need to say?
Awesome.
Yeah, loved him.
It has that great story about knowing Freddie Prinze.
Kanan?
Yeah, Kanan. And like, they having all those lightsaber parts, so when they're on the other side, Ahsoka can just rebuild her lightsaber. They have the parts.
Yeah, I mean, it was. It is funny you brought up rebuilding Ahsoka's lightsaber because I thought it was interesting that she lost one in this one in a very definitive manner. But yeah, I mean, she could easily have 2 again.
Yeah, she'll have 2 next season.
So that was one thing I wondered about. Obviously they're in the T6. Younglings have been trained there. They build their lightsabers there, which is very cool. Getting to see kind of like in live action them putting together the lightsaber in a way like we used to do we did in the last video game in the Jedi Survivor or whatever. That was fun. That was cool. It was great. But my question. Do they just have like a drawer full of kyber crystals in that ship too?
Yep.
They must, right? Like that must be a thing.
Yeah, they would have to. I mean, Ezra makes one real easily.
That was the only question I had about that scene. I was like, I guess they just have a drawer of kyber laying around. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But I mean, that's not the process. Obviously, like your kyber kind of chooses you. We saw it in the Clone Wars.
They choose you in that box. One will choose you.
Now, though, then again. We didn't see how Luke got his green kyber, so we don't know how that worked out either.
He walked into a cave and found a patch of like crystals, and he kept like searching through it till he found the color he wanted, and then he left that cave. There were some big arachnid bugs in there that he would have to kill. Of course, I'm talking about Knights of the Old Republic video game.
I was just gonna say, wait a second, fella. This sounds vaguely familiar.
This sounds familiar. I remember doing this several times, looking for the correct lightsaber color.
Oh man, yeah, but it was great to see Huang come back to life, and he always imparting like great, little pearls of wisdom every episode. Loved it.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you froze for a second on my screen. All the characters, everyone they brought into play to bring the characters to life, I thought everyone was great.
Yeah,
like the Ezra character, I'm not familiar with the actor, but. Immediately likable.
Yeah.
You immediately like him, and you're like, oh, I mean, until he starts running towards Thrawn. I liked him until that moment, and then he made a choice.
Did you like him in? Did you like Ezra? The combat sequence where he doesn't have a lightsaber, he's just using his force powers.
Loved it. I thought it was really cool.
I just thought he'd be a little bit more proficient, but maybe I'm picking nits.
I mean, what has he fought? He fought against some really
Well,
ramshackle.
According to you, he had to fend off the Uzon Vong for 9 years. So I mean,
He did it.
he just lived over those.
He says he stayed far away from Thrawn and the Night Sisters when he woke them up from whatever slumber they were in.
Mm-hmm. Tell me
so
more.
You know, Thrawn's been in contact with other people to find out where the Night Sisters were, but I don't know. I guess they crashed on this planet.
Yeah, I mean, they the Empire, like Thrawn and his forces.
Thrawn, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that's just where the Purgle come out of hyperspace, and that was where they were able to kind of like be released or broke free or whatever at that point.
Yeah, still annoyed by that.
I mean, looking back on it, like I love the explanation for why Thrawn misses the Galactic Civil War, but now knowing what they're doing with Star Wars now, I'm like, oh, this is even cooler because it's a fun way to bring him back too.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder at the same time, like, did Filoni have like an idea in his mind to do this all down the road at some point? Was he kind of setting himself up here?
No, I think it's just happy coincidence. Like,
I mean,
I got this guy out of the way.
It was a pretty smart. I mean, it was a pretty.
Maybe by the very
choice.
end of Rebels, he had an idea that I can bring him back if things break my way.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to know a little bit more if he'll ever talk about like when that final season I had an idea for another show. I didn't, I thought it might be an animated sequel down the road, but like once The Mandalorian came out, maybe he's like, maybe I can adapt this at some point. Maybe the technology's finally here to do this in live action. I don't know. I'd be curious because like it was an interesting choice for the way he removes Thrawn and Ezra from the conversation in the Galactic Civil War. Like you don't have to ask that question. Where was Thrawn? Because that's the most ambiguous thing about him in the books when they first introduced him. Is like, oh well, he was doing this special thing for the Emperor out in the unknown regions, fending off other bad guys that we didn't know anything about. It makes sense in the book, and it sort of intrigues you to like, oh, what's going on in the rest of the galaxy? But at the same time, it's like, well, that's kind of convenient at the same time.
Yeah, also they don't really get into that much either.
The best strategy guy that the Empire has, and they're like, oh, hey, go fight the other guys instead.
I don't see with the old Thrawn thing. I would have just preferred that he heard the Emperor died, and like he was like, nope, not on my watch, and he just shows up. Like he's out there in the unknown regions, but that's his kingdom.
Yeah. I mean,
and, he heard his boy died, and he's like, "No, I gotta take care of that. I don't like that."
Again, regardless of what the motivation was for the choices that Filoni made at the end of Rebels, I'm super glad that he's bringing it back and kind of paying it off and giving us old head fans like us, you and me, those kind of moments that we've been talking about for 30 plus years. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
So even if it is going to be something of I don't want to say like watered down, but like a modified version of that Amazing Thrawn trilogy, I'm here for it. But I do want them to I want them to figure out how to bring in the characters that need to be here for it. Like they got to figure out the Luke thing. They got to figure out, if they're gonna do something with Leia and Han. I mean,
just recast and let's go.
That's my plan. Aaron Alder
give the next generation of actors a chance.
Hey, I'm a big fan of Alden Ehrenreich's Han Solo. Yeah. Bring it back. Let's do it.
He's the right age to be Han Solo right now.
Yeah. And we can just gloss over the whole Han Solo as a deadbeat dad thing. We'll just, we'll have a young Ben there. It's perfect.
Please. Please.
Yeah, show me some nice moments with his kid before he decides to be a deadbeat.
Yeah.
Let's kind of like...
bring Lando in somewhere.
Yeah.
And have Lando just be awesome.
I was going to say, I don't want to say like let's redeem the characters that the sequels ruined, but we kind of need to redeem the characters that the sequels ruined a little bit here. Yeah. Our heroes got a little tarnish on them in those sequels. We need to kind of show them in the good light again.
Yeah. Do kids now like the sequels?
I don't know. I mean, I know there's an audience for it, but I've yet to really meet them.
Yeah. Because each character I see now, I just know where we're headed in 20 years.
It's a little yeah, for me, who's not a big fan of the sequels, I'm a little depressed by that.
Yeah, and nothing. People you meet now and you like doesn't matter. They're gonna get Kylo Ren in 20 years.
Well, I mean, and that like you were saying earlier, like, do we just make like Grogu and Jason and all these young Force users? Do we just put them in a different galaxy for a little while so they don't get Kylo'd?
Yeah, the Night Sisters are gonna touch Thrawn's temples, and they're gonna give him a vision of the future. He's gonna see what's coming. He's gonna realize I need to protect Jedi, and he's gonna flip sides, and he's gonna be the Underground Railroad, and he's gonna save them all.
I'm here for that story too. I am.
If you want to hear me pitch 400 Thrawn stories that I want to see happen.
Well, I mean, and that's sort of so that's sort of the thing, right? Like, we're building to this whole big, massive conflict. This whole the culmination of this New Republic era of Star Wars stories. And we sort of alluded to it already. Like, is this New Republic even worth saving? Because we know what happens when the next threat arises. They don't pay attention to that one either. And it's just sort of there's sort of a like, do I care that much now?
They seem to have no action towards anything ever.
But we know ultimately, unless your vision comes to fruition, we know that Thrawn will ultimately lose here, and that the new order the first order will rise in his place, and it's just like, I'm just very lackluster about that.
I was holding out hope that Thrawn was like playing a deep game, deep fake, but when he's given the jabs at Ahsoka and he's about to leave,
way to twist the knife there too! Like, what a great job
it
he
awesome.
does.
It was awesome, but he's like, "Hail to the Empire!" I was like, "Oh, it's hard to fake that."
Even before that, he's like, I knew who your master was. Who's to say you're not a lot like him?
Was some of my favorite shit from the book. And I just cussed for the first time on this podcast, like an hour and a half in. That's such BB.
BB-8 in it, huh?
Yeah, I know, man. That's some sauce right there. I was doing so well.
I was proud of you, though. You had a great run. I lost my point.
Yeah.
No, don't worry. No, I mean, you were talking about the books and the way Thrawn twists the knife and all those things.
Oh, he gets around Vader after doing a mission with Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
And he does subtle jabs at Vader that I love so much, where he's like, I know who you are already.
Yeah.
Like, none of these dum-dums know who you are.
He's like, oh, yeah, I used to know a Jedi who get angry like this, too. It's like, oh, yeah, okay.
Ronnie boy, it took 5 seconds. I know exactly who you are.
No, he's doing the thing. He's like pointing at his eyes and your eyes. He's like, I see you. I see you.
I know you.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to like bum anybody out. But it's like, it's hard to get super excited. I mean, I hope there's some really cool moments and some cool reveals coming up to keep building Thrawn into like this great threat. But it does bum me out that like we already know we already know he can't win. He can't win. And this New Republic stinks. He probably should win.
He should win.
He probably should win. The New Republic, they're awful. Like Leia's vision, Mon Mothma's vision, it ain't happening.
No, it's gonna fail. And then it's gonna lead to Starkiller Base or whatever.
Yeah, and then I gotta deal with Starkiller Base in the First Order and Huck and all these guys, and I don't wanna. I want to skip that.
I would love to skip it. I don't think it's going to happen.
And I don't want to be one of those Star Wars podcasts where we get all crazy and like, oh, well, they could use the World Between Worlds to change the timeline and do all these things. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
All right. Anyways, let's take a minute to go collect ourselves, and we'll finish this up.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so we're back with Regan from Come On, It's Still Good, a great movie podcast I do highly recommend. And I'll be going back and listening to their Ahsoka episodes now so I can hear all the wild speculation that never came to pass. Can't wait.
Yeah. By now, I think our last episode 7 and 8 are dropping either by the time you're listening to this or tomorrow. But just subscribe, rate, review while you're there. That's fun.
That's right. Subscribe
Everybody loves to rate.
Subscribe to my podcast so you can hear Reagan talk about his. Perfect idea. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. I had one question, and it came up. This was like something I didn't think about. I hadn't thought about until this morning when a podcast that I know you and I both listen to, but I'm hoping you listened to today's episode, the Tony Kornheiser podcast.
I did.
You
Right?
heard
Greg Garcia today, right?
You heard Greg Garcia today talking
Yes.
about the writer's strike. And one of the things he mentioned that I thought was very, very interesting from a Star Wars perspective was that there's now apparently there's language in the Writers Guild's contracts that there have to be writers' rooms with a minimum number of writers in them.
Yeah.
For shows like The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, I was curious if you thought, for The Mandalorian, it's been Jon Favreau, basically all the way through. Filoni's gotten co-writing credits on a couple episodes. But with Ahsoka, it's been Filoni writing all 8 episodes solo. I was curious if you think this is a good or bad thing for the future Star Wars shows to have a more of a involved writer's room.
Yes. I think it's good to have writers and not just computers.
Well,
yes.
no, not computers, but I mean like one voice. Like obviously with The Mandalorian, it's been Favreau as like the lone voice in most of it.
Okay.
For Ahsoka, it's been Filoni seeing that through.
I'm fine with multiple voices. One needs to be the loudest.
Sure.
In the most opinion. As long as there's a clear direction and they're not running in 8 different, glass shatters or tangents. Have a point. I don't want the last trilogy where it's going one way, let's go another way. No, I'm going to go back on that first way to get kind of close to where I was. I don't want zigzags. I want a straight story.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
however I can get to that, I'm fine with.
One of the big knocks on The Mandalorian has always sort of been like this idea that there's like filler episodes, quote unquote. The kind of pad like that 8-episode season or whatever it is. With a writer's room and another writer being perhaps given a chance to do something fun and unique with the character to get, but still furthering Favreau's vision as the showrunner, I think we might actually get kind of better Star Wars out of this.
Yeah, filler episodes can be fun. If they had done when Jae-young and Ahsoka are in the ship and he's like a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and if they had done just a random Jedi story.
Yeah. Like essentially like a bottle episode.
Yeah, a bottle episode from like 100 years ago.
That would have been cool as heck.
Yeah, it would have been awesome.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm with you. And
so filler episodes are okay sometimes.
Well, but so what I was ultimately getting at was, this podcast loves Star Wars. This podcast loves all the Star Wars shows. However, there is one Star Wars show that has been just like the cream of the crop, and that in this host's opinion has been Andor. And that was a show with a writer's room. It had Tony Gilroy's vision and direction, and they knew what where the goalposts were, but they had different writers writing different episodes to further that story, to continually ratchet up the tension, to drive the drama. That show does not have filler.
That show was
episodes.
so intense. I loved it.
Yeah, it does not have filler. It doesn't have fluff. Like that is as lean and mean as a show as you can get, and it had multiple writers. Accomplished writers at the very least.
Yeah, but it had a spine.
But these guys adding to what Tony Gilroy wants to do. And I think if you bring in the right people, you can have people adding to what Favreau wants to tell in The Mandalorian, adding to what Filoni wants to do with Ahsoka. I don't know how this will all shake out as far as Disney goes, or if they'll just be like, oh, here's a writer's room, but like, Filoni's still doing what he wants to do, or here's a bunch of writers, but Favreau still overrides everybody. I don't know. But I look at that gold standard that is Andor.
Yeah.
And
that's what I want.
That is something to aim for, baby.
Yeah. It's you have the spine, and then the 8 writers or the 7 other writers fill it in.
And maybe I don't know what the minimum is with the new contracts, or it's based on per episodes or blah blah blah. Like maybe with an 8-episode show like The Mandalorian or Ahsoka, maybe you only need 3 writers. Sure, okay, fine. And it's still Filoni's vision. But you're getting a couple different voices out there, kind of furthering the characters in a couple different directions. And Filoni's worked in writers' rooms. I mean, that's what Clone Wars and Bad Batch and Rebels have been. So I'm kind of intrigued by the idea of this. I want to see if it happens on Star Wars. I do feel like sometimes The Mandalorian's been like too much of one voice. Like let's add some voices to it.
More voices never bad.
Yeah, like I said,
Even if they don't agree with you, you could at least have a dialogue or a discussion about which is the best way to go.
Well, I mean, and it's good. Favreau's a collaborative guy. I mean, he brought Filoni aboard. They co-wrote the Ahsoka episodes for season 2 of The Mandalorian. Let's give some other guys a chance, or guys, I shouldn't say it like that, but like other writers a chance to, get their paws on these characters and do something cool with them. Give them a chance. A lot of great writers. Remember, I want to bring up Star Trek again, but Star Trek had a lot of great writers because they had an open submissions program.
Yeah,
that's how Ron Moore got started.
That's how I was gonna say. That's how Ron Moore and Braga also, right?
Yeah, a bunch of great writers got their start because of open submissions. Now, I'm not saying Star Wars needs to go that direction, but that's how you get a lot of color and a lot of different ideas, and you explore different elements of the Star Wars mythology by having those different voices come into play.
I mean, there's already a lot of different voices, from comic book writers to authors, that they could bring in for just idea sessions.
Yeah. I mean,
or collabs, whatever the kids are calling it
I'm
now.
sure there's a bunch of great creators in Hollywood who want a crack at writing some Star Wars. And if they can get an episode of The Mandalorian, they can get an episode of Ahsoka. And again, you're still furthering Filoni and Favreau's vision, but you just get a chance to kind of add to it as opposed to just having it being. And again, I don't necessarily agree with the knocks on the filler episodes, but you kind of take that away. And I just want to know your opinion, if you sort of agreed or disagreed.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. And I like the filler episodes also, The Mandalorian. I never felt it like it was a side quest like some people do.
I never agreed with the side quest argument, but if you wanted to really make
it's universe
show,
building,
like you said, just have this amazing through spine for your episodes, like Andor did, a writer's room might be a really nice touch.
Andor was so intense. I couldn't handle some of the episodes. Like the heist, the original heist.
Heart attack.
Like just thinking about it now, like my back got clenched.
No,
I know that he makes it out. I've seen the movie. I know he's fine. Oh. But you know what? I'm gonna be tense whenever Andor season 2 happens.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I know he's fine.
That was the last thing I really wanted to say. Are there any other elements of Ahsoka you want to address right now in this very public forum to get off your chest?
I mean, I feel I've laid my soul bare. I mean, Thrawn's the best. He should win. Always.
Always and forever.
Just ascendancy. I support you. You're my government of choice in the Star Wars universe.
I
don't know a lot about you. I know there are houses. That's about it. I don't even know how they work, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the thing. If Thrawn's in charge, like I feel like it's less tyranny than the Emperor. But I'm okay with order. I don't want a tyrant, but order's okay.
Thrawn's not tyranty.
He doesn't seem tyranny to me either. So I guess what I'm saying is, down with the New Republic. These guys suck. Their bureaucratic red tape. Get out of here.
All hail me, Thrawn Naruto.
Discussing everything in a committee. Get out of here. Han Solo didn't have time for it. Neither do I.
Yeah.
But the Ahsoka show, I loved it. Lightsabers, space battles, all the things I wanted in a Star Wars show, including a great villain who I want to see more of. You expand the mythology. You're giving us a bunch of new stuff. Yes, I want more answers, but I was here for it. I love the episode. I love the show. I can't wait to rewatch it. I already started rewatching it. I'm having a blast. I think the Ahsoka show was a winner. Big thumbs up for me.
All right, big thumbs up. You missed Stormtroopers, zombies, Mandalorian.
Dude,
has everything.
Dude, you know what I want?
No space battles, right? Or no space battles even. It had everything. It had everything.
And you sort of hinted at something that I want to see next season, which is Thrawn's zombie army versus Mandalorians.
Sounds awesome, right?
Do you know how happy that will make me? I'll have an entire episode just about like whatever that scene is. I'll talk about that for 45 minutes. No problem. All right. Anyways, Regan, thanks for hanging out. Go ahead. Tell the people how to find you and what you're up to on the Come On It's So Good podcast.
You can find us at CoSGPod on Instagram and Twitter, or CoSGPod.com. The episode coming out as you're listening to this is Rollerball, 1975, not the 2002. We're talking James Caan
Jimmy Caan.
At the peak of his powers.
The peak of his conness.
Yeah, so good. I mean, like, talk about a force on screen. It's James Caan.
Did you yell out, Caan?
On the podcast, no.
You should have.
In my life, all the time.
Missed opportunity for the podcast.
I don't yell Caan a lot.
Yes,
I'm saving it for
yes,
when we finally do a live episode and we do like Star Trek 2, because I think that's the only way I can get that episode to fly.
A live
it's
episode.
An obvious G.
Nice.
It's an obvious G. Like it's a little too obvious.
Okay.
What kind of monster would be like Star Trek 2 stinks? Crazy people.
All right. And what episode can they look forward to next from you guys? What do you got coming up?
That next week is the start of our Hortoberfest.
Hortoberfest coming up. Tease it.
That's right. The 4th ever Hortoberfest, or as we call it, Fortoberfest. And the first movie coming out of the gate, Shaun of the Dead.
Which you've gone as Halloween as Shaun.
I have, yes. I had red on me and everything.
It might be multiple years, right?
1 year, and then I went as a zombie the next year, but I wore the same shirt. So I guess you could say Shaun didn't make it in my universe.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm so glad we got to do this. It's always fun to wrap up the shows with you, so I'm glad we kind of get to continue this tradition. Take care, my friend. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you. It's always a great time. And a boosh!
Keep your bucket on, brother. Vote A.
Well, I would never take off the bucket. It's insane. Also, it's insane Sabine takes it off all the time. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Agreed.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Well, there it is. That was Regan from the Come On It's So Good podcast. So nice for of him to hang out with us today and wrap up the first season of Ahsoka and have a pretty big discussion about it. I know we got a lot into speculation and maybe not so much into how certain elements of the show played for us, but I think we were all on the same page by and large, and you know how I felt about each episode because we did those reviews. So very nice time there. What do you think about our speculation? How much of it you think is going to happen? Do you agree, disagree with us? What do you think's next for these characters, for the show? You know, does this spin out into like a new version of Rebels? Does, you know, a sort of a sister series to go along with the series? What do you guys think's next? There's so many possibilities, so many things to kind of get into. The possibilities are endless. And as we sort of discussed at the top of the episode, you know, if that actor's strike does get resolved in the next week or so here, perhaps that's when the studios will begin to announce their future plans for what is next. You know, I'm sure Filoni has his vision. I'm sure now that the writers' portion of the strike is over, maybe he's already hard at work on what's to come as far as season 2 of Ahsoka, whatever his contributions to the next season of The Mandalorian will be, and possibly to his own film that will wrap up this entire New Republic saga that we've been immersed in since the debut of The Mandalorian. So I'm excited for that time. You know, again, if these strikes do get resolved and the actors get what they want to put the kibosh on this situation, yeah, it's going to be, I think, a lot of announcements, and we'll have a lot to look forward to for sure. And I can't wait till we get to those discussions going here on the podcast. That being said, you know, now that Ahsoka's behind us, it is time to get back to Star Wars: The Clone Wars rewatch series. We are getting ready to kick off the abbreviated, the shortened season 6, the what was initially the final season that got the kibosh when Disney acquired Lucasfilm. You know, they immediately canceled the Clone Wars, and so we get the first bunch of episodes, and ended up missing out on a lot of what sounded like really, really important episodes that came to life in different ways. You know, we've seen the storyboards and the animatics for what was to be the Cad Bane versus Boba Fett episode. The Asajj Ventress arc that was supposed to kind of wrap up that character became the Dark Disciple novel. You know, there's a lot of those elements that we've talked about in previous episodes of the podcast come from this aborted season. But importantly, this is a season that begins to shape Order 66. and how it affects the clones that we've come to know and care for in those first 5 seasons of the show. Now we get to get a little bit more information, a little bit more context on why Order 66, when it happens, how it happens so thoroughly and how effectively, essentially by making it so that the clones have no choice but to follow that order. So we'll talk about that. I'm looking forward to getting into that. That is the opening arc for season 6. Is a big one tying into Order 66 and sort of the clones' role in it. So I'm really excited to talk about that with all of you guys. Just one little button for Ahsoka, in case I didn't mention it. This is probably my second favorite Star Wars show right now, after Andor. I do think it might get the nod just above like those first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. I'm sort of on the fence about saying that officially. I still want to give season 2 of Mandalorian like a slight bucket lead on that one, but it's real close. It's 2 or 3, it's right there. So looking forward to more for sure. All right, my friends, a reminder: this is the Mandovision podcast. I am your host, Nargai Tom. Thank you so much for checking out our small independent Star Wars podcast. Reach out to us on social media at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can email this show, MandovisionTom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. If your podcasting platform allows it and you support the idea, give us those sweet 5-star reviews. They really help the small independent shows like us stand out and not get lost in the extra galactic space between galaxies. We would really appreciate your help so that we don't get lost there. It doesn't sound pleasant. It doesn't sound fun. All right, Buckethead Nation, you are the best. Continue to be amazing Star Wars fans. Support people's new interests in Star Wars. Support them in however you can. Get them on board. Make sure that they know Star Wars is a place that's welcoming to them. And come back next week as we get back into Star Wars, The Clone Wars. It's going to be awesome. All right, Buckethead Nation, you take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon. But remember, this podcast can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.